For 7 months, every night at 2:47 a.m., my husband would stand beside my bed in the dark, just watching me sleep, until the day I pretended to be asleep and heard what he was whispering. And what I discovered, my dear, destroyed my life forever. My name is Evelyn Rose Parker. Today I'm 91 years old. I turned 91 on March 3rd of this year. I was born in 1934 in a small town in rural Kentucky. I've lived through a lot in this life. I've been through situations that when I tell people today, they don't believe me. But everything I'm going to tell you here is the absolute truth. You can ask my daughters, my grandchildren, anyone who knows me. I don't lie. I've never lied in my life. Before I continue my story, I'd like to ask something from those of you watching. If you could leave a like on this video and subscribe to Grandparents' Tales, I'd be very happy. I know you young folks today like these internet things, and they told me this helps other people find my story. And I want my story to be known. I want other women to know they're not alone. So leave that, like, subscribe to Grandparents' Tales, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Are you from California, Texas, Kentucky like me? Or are you watching from far away, from another country? Tell me. I love to know. My grandson always shows me the comments, and I get so emotional seeing people from all over watching me. Well, now I'll start my story from the beginning, because otherwise you won't understand everything that happened. I married Herbert Franklin Parker on October 15th, 1955. I was 21 years old. He was 26. It was an arranged marriage by our families, as was the custom back then. My father knew his father. They were friends and thought we made a good match. I barely knew Herbert before the wedding. We'd seen each other maybe 3 or 4 times, always with our parents nearby. He was handsome, tall, strong, hard-working. My father said he was a serious man, a man of his word, who would take good care of me. I got married in a white dress with a veil at the First Baptist Church. It was a big celebration with lots of food, a band. Everyone from town came. I remember I wore the dress that had been my grandmother's, all white lace, that my mother had kept in a trunk. It was a hot day, lots of sun, and I was nervous as could be. I didn't really know this man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Right after the wedding, we moved to a small farm that his father had given us as a gift. It was about 50 acres of land near a place called Barton Springs, deep in rural Kentucky, far from everything. The house was simple, wooden, just 3 rooms. There was a living room that was also the kitchen, a bedroom, and a tiny pantry in the back. The bathroom was outside, a little wooden outhouse. There was no electricity. We used kerosene lamps. Water came from a well in the yard. Herbert worked the land, planted corn, beans, grew vegetables, raised some chickens and pigs. I took care of the house, washed clothes in a wash tub, cooked on a wood stove, sewed our clothes. It was a hard life, but it was the life we knew. Everyone lived like that back then. My first daughter was born in 1957, on April 23rd. I named her Dorothy because I liked that name, thought it was pretty. The birth was at home with the midwife, Mrs. Patterson, who was the midwife in the area. It was a difficult birth, took a long time. I suffered a lot. But when I saw my daughter, my first girl, I forgot everything. She was so tiny, so perfect. In 1959, Constance was born on August 8th. Another difficult birth, but this time I knew what to expect. Constance was different from Dorothy. Dorothy was quiet, calm. Constance was born crying, making noise, wanting attention. 2 beautiful girls. And in 1962 came Violet, my baby. She was born on December 1st, an easier birth than the others, thank God. Violet was small, tiny, but smart, intelligent. 3 daughters, 3 girls. Herbert wanted a boy, wanted a son to help him on the farm, but God gave me 3 girls, and I was thankful for each one. Herbert was always a very quiet man. He wasn't talkative, wasn't affectionate. He never hit me, never raised a hand to me. I have to say that. But he was never loving either. He never hugged me just to hug, never told me he loved me, never gave me a gift. It was like we were two strangers living in the same house. He worked, I worked, we raised the girls, but there wasn't that thing of a couple in love that you see in movies. There wasn't. Sometimes I'd wonder if this was just how it had to be, if all marriages were like this. I'd talk to other women at church, at gatherings, and it seemed like, yes, it was normal. Husband worked, wife took care of the house, and that was that. Love was something for single girls. After you got married, it was obligation, it was duty. The girls growing up, time passing, and life going on in that routine. Wake up early, make coffee, take care of the house, the girls, the laundry, the food. Herbert leaving for the fields before sunrise, coming back when it was already getting dark. Dinner in silence, going to bed, sleeping, and starting all over again the next day. I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't happy, but I also wasn't completely unhappy. It was the life I had, and I accepted it. I had my daughters, I had food on the table, I had a roof. Many people had less than that. It went on like this for 13 years. 13 years of peaceful marriage without great joys, but also without big problems. Until January 1968 came. January 1968, I'll never forget. It had rained a lot at the end of December. The crops had done well. The corn had grown well. Herbert was even calmer, less grumpy. The girls were on break from school. Dorothy was 11 and already helped me a lot around the house. Constance was 9 in that wild phase, climbing trees, getting her clothes all dirty. And Violet, at 6 years old, still small but already clever. It was a Tuesday, January 16th, 1968. I remember exactly because the next day was church service, and I always lit a candle. So it was the 16th. It had been a normal day. I woke up early, made coffee, Herbert went out to the fields. I stayed taking care of the girls, made lunch, washed clothes. In the afternoon, I sewed a dress that was torn on Constance. Made dinner, beans with rice, some salt pork that was left over. We ate dinner. The girls went to bed early because they were tired from playing in the sun all day. Herbert and I stayed a bit in the living room, him smoking his roll-up cigarette, me mending a sock. Then we went to bed. Must have been around 9 o'clock when we lay down. I always slept on the left side of the bed, near the wall. Herbert slept on the right side, near the door. It had been that way since we got married. The bed was wooden, old, creaked whenever we moved. The mattress was corn husk, hard, uncomfortable, but it was what we had. I slept normally. I was tired. It had been a full day. And then, in the middle of the night, I woke up. I woke up suddenly, the way you wake up when you feel something's wrong. You know when you're certain someone's watching you? That was the feeling. I opened my eyes slowly, still half groggy from sleep. The house was dark, really dark. There was no moon that night, everything was black. But my dear, I saw his silhouette. Herbert's silhouette standing beside the bed, just standing there. My heart raced. I got such a fright that for a second I couldn't even breathe. I thought it was a burglar, thought it was something. But then my eyes adjusted to the dark, and I saw it was him, Herbert, standing on my side of the bed, looking at me. I was so startled I couldn't say anything. I just kept looking at him, and he stayed there, just looking at me. He didn't say anything, didn't move, just stayed there. After a while, I don't know how long, a few minutes maybe, he went back to his side of the bed and lay down without saying anything, like nothing had happened. I stayed awake the rest of the night, my heart beating hard, my hands sweating cold. I kept thinking about what had happened, why he had done that, why he had been looking at me like that. In the morning when we woke up, I pretended nothing had happened. Made coffee, everything normal, but I kept watching him, trying to see if he was different, if there was something strange. But he was normal, same as always, quiet, serious, eating his bread with butter, drinking black coffee. I thought it had been in my head, that I'd dreamed it, or that he'd gotten up to go to the bathroom and stopped there by accident. I don't know. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. But the next night it happened again. Same thing. I woke up in the middle of the night and there he was, standing by the bed looking at me. This time, I looked at the clock we had on the wall, an old one with hands that his father had given us. It read 2:47, 2:47. He stood there about 10 minutes. I pretended to be sleeping, but I was awake, my heart beating hard, trying to understand. Then he went back to bed. The next morning during coffee, I asked, "Herbert, did you get up during the night?" He looked at me like he didn't know what I was talking about. "Get up for what?" "To go to the bathroom, I don't know." "No, I slept all night. Why?" "Nothing. Thought I heard a noise." And that was it. Subject closed. He either didn't know or was pretending not to know. I couldn't tell. But my dear, it happened again on the third night, and the fourth, and the fifth. Every single day, always at the same time, 2:47 in the morning. I started to get desperate, started to be afraid to sleep. I'd stay awake waiting for that time to come, and when it did, there he was, standing, looking at me, without saying anything, without doing anything, just looking. I tried to talk to him again. Asked if he was sick, if he was sleeping poorly, if he had some problem. He always said everything was fine, that I was imagining things. But I wasn't imagining it. Every night, 2:47, he was there. I started to lose weight. Couldn't eat properly, couldn't sleep. I was always tired, nervous. The girls noticed. Dorothy asked me if I was sick. I said it was just tiredness, but she didn't believe me. I could see in her eyes that she knew something was wrong. February passed, March passed, April, May, June, July, August beginning. 7 months. 7 months of that. Every single day, 2:47 in the morning, he'd get up, come to my side of the bed, stand there looking at me, then go back. I started to think I was going crazy. I swear to God, I thought I was losing my mind. Because how does a man do something like this every day at the same time and act like nothing happened in the morning? I spent the whole day thinking about it, while I washed clothes in the tub, while I cooked, while I swept the house. My head wouldn't stop. I kept thinking, trying to understand what he was doing, why he was doing it. At first I thought he was sleepwalking. You know, those people who get up sleeping and walk around the house? I'd heard about that. My Aunt Josephine used to tell how her husband would get up at night sleeping and go to the kitchen, open the cupboard door, stand there. So I thought it might be that. But my dear, people who sleepwalk don't stand in the same place every day, and not at exactly the same time. 2:47, every single day, like clockwork. It couldn't be sleepwalking. Then I thought it might be illness, some kind of brain disease. I'd heard of people who got problems in their head and started doing strange things. Mr. Johnson at the general store had gotten like that a few years back. Started talking to himself, seeing things that didn't exist. They had to put him in an institution. Was that it? Was Herbert sick? I thought about talking to someone. But who? We lived far from everything. The nearest house was Mrs. Miller's, which was about a mile away. There was no telephone, nothing. To go to town, you had to take the wagon. Took over an hour. And what would I say? That my husband stood watching me sleep in the middle of the night? They'd think I was crazy. My mother lived far away. We didn't see each other much, just at Christmas, sometimes Easter. There was no way I could go there and back in the same day. And even if I went, what would she say? My mother was one of those old-fashioned women, you know, the kind who think a woman has to endure everything in silence. You married him. You have to deal with it, she always said. It wouldn't help to tell her. I tried to talk to the neighbors. One Sunday after church, I was talking with Mrs. Miller and Mrs. Thompson at the church door. We were talking about household things, food, those kinds of women's conversations. So I took a chance. Have you ever had any sleep problems with your husbands? Mrs. Miller looked at me curiously. How do you mean, Evelyn? Oh, I don't know. Getting up at night, things like that. Mrs. Thompson laughed. Mine snores something awful, wakes up even the neighbors. But he only gets up to go to the bathroom. I couldn't go any further. Didn't have the courage to tell them. They'd think it was weird. They'd start talking. Small town is like that. Everyone finds out about everything. At home, the situation was getting worse and worse. I was losing a lot of weight. My clothes were loose, my face was gaunt, the circles under my eyes were deep, purple. I'd look at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I looked like a ghost. The girls were worried. Dorothy, poor thing, at 11 years old, had already noticed something was very wrong. She'd ask me all the time, "Mom, are you sick?" "No, honey, just tired." "But I see you don't eat right, don't sleep right. There's something wrong, Mom." "There isn't, Dorothy, don't worry." But I could see in her eyes she didn't believe me, and I felt terrible for lying to my daughter. But what could I say? That her father stood watching me sleep every night? An 11-year-old wouldn't understand. Constance was also acting strange. She'd always been the most talkative of the three, the happiest, the one who gave the most trouble. But around that time she was quiet, wasn't playing like before, stayed in her corner, silent. I thought it was just kid stuff, a phase, but I worried. And Violet, tiny thing, at 6 years old, also sensed something was wrong. Children sense these things. She was hugging me all the time, glued to me, like she was afraid I'd leave. Herbert continued the same way, working on the farm, coming back at night, eating in silence, sleeping, and every night at 2:47, getting up and coming to watch me. I started to get afraid, really afraid, because you hear stories, you know. I'd hear about men who killed their wives in their sleep, men who went crazy and did terrible things. What if that was it? What if one of these nights he came with something in his hand, a knife, a pillow to smother me? I started sleeping afraid, or rather, not sleeping. I'd stay awake all night waiting, looking at the clock. 2:40, 2:45, 2:47, and there he'd come. There was one night when I pretended to be sleeping deeply, breathed deeply, slowly, like someone who's really sleeping. I wanted to see what he'd do. He stayed there longer than usual. Stayed about 15-20 minutes, and I could hear his breathing, heavy, labored, like he was nervous, agitated. At some point he crouched down, got close to my face. I felt his breath, hot, smelling of tobacco. I thought he was going to kiss me or kill me. I didn't know. My heart was beating so hard I was sure he'd hear it. But he didn't do anything, just stayed there really close, breathing. Then he got up and went back to bed. That night, I didn't sleep anymore. Stayed awake until dawn, shaking, sweating cold, thinking I was going to have a heart attack. The next day I was so tired I almost fainted while making lunch. Had to sit on the kitchen floor, dizzy, seeing everything spin. Dorothy found me like that and was desperate. Mom, what happened?" "Nothing, honey, just dizzy." "I'm going to call Dad." No need. It's past." She helped me up, took me to the bedroom, laid me down, brought me water with sugar, sat holding my hand, looking at me with those worried eyes. Right then I almost told her, almost said, "Honey, your father is doing something very strange." But I didn't. She was a child. Couldn't put that in her head. I was getting sick, really sick. Couldn't eat. My stomach would turn with everything. I lost 18 pounds in 2 months. 18 pounds. Me, who'd always been thin, became just skin and bones, clothes falling off my body. Mrs. Miller saw me at the store one day and was shocked. "Evelyn, for God's sake, what happened to you? Are you sick?" "No, Mrs. Miller, just tired." "Tired nothing. You're a skeleton. Go to the doctor, girl." But I didn't go. The doctor was expensive, far away. And what would the doctor do? Give me sleeping pills? That wouldn't solve the problem. The problem was Herbert, and I didn't know what to do about him. There was one night, it was already July, when I tried to stay awake on purpose, drank strong coffee during the day, didn't lie down early, stayed in the living room sewing until almost midnight. When I went to bed, I forced my eyes open, pinching my arm every time I was about to doze off. I managed to stay awake until 2:30, I was waiting. I wanted to see when he'd get up, wanted to catch him in the act, awake, and ask, "What are you doing, Herbert?" But my dear, it didn't work. I dozed off. Don't know if it was 2 minutes, 5 minutes, but I dozed. And when I woke up with that usual startle, he was already there, standing beside the bed, looking at me. I got so mad at myself I wanted to cry. How had I dozed off? I started to think he knew when I was awake, that he waited for me to fall asleep before getting up. Was that it? Did he lie there awake, waiting for me to fall asleep? Was that it? That scared me even more, because if he was waiting for me to sleep, it was because he didn't want me to know. It was because he was hiding something. I started watching him during the day, the way he looked at me, the way he talked to the girls, looking for some sign, something different. But he was always the same, quiet, serious, working on the farm. One Sunday we went to church. We went every Sunday. It was obligatory. I was praying, asking God for help, asking for protection. And the preacher talked about the demons that tempt people, about the bad things that enter men's minds. I left that service thinking, maybe that was it. Maybe it was the devil tempting Herbert, making him do those things. Sounds silly, but I was raised that way, believing in these things. And when you're desperate, you believe everything. I put a Bible under my pillow, prayed every night before sleeping, asked for protection. But it didn't help. 2:47. There he was. The girls were getting quieter and quieter. Constance especially was very strange. I noticed she had lost weight too. Her little face was thinner, her clothes looser. I asked if she was eating properly at school. "Yes, Mom." "Are you sure? You're very thin." "I'm eating, Mom. I'm just not very hungry." I thought it was strange, but didn't insist. I had so much on my mind, I couldn't worry about everything. Until one day, must have been late July, early August, Constance came home from school and went straight to her room. Didn't want to eat. Said she had a stomach ache. I went to check on her. She was lying down, curled up, hand on her stomach. "What did you eat, Constance?" "Nothing, Mom. I didn't eat anything different." "Do you have a fever?" I touched her forehead. "No fever." "Then it's just a stomach ache. I'll make you some tea." I made mint tea, gave it to her. She drank it and stayed there quietly. I left the room but stayed worried. Later, when I went to bring her dinner, I went into the room and saw that she'd been crying. Her eyes were red, swollen. "Constance, you've been crying? What's wrong?" "Nothing, Mom, it's the pain." But I knew it wasn't just the pain. There was something. I kept looking at her, and for the first time in months I stopped thinking about Herbert and really paid attention to my daughter. She was different, very different. It wasn't just the weight loss, it was the way she looked, the way she spoke. There was fear in her eyes. Fear of what? I tried to talk, but she didn't want to speak. Said she was sleepy, wanted to sleep. I left the room but kept thinking about what was happening with Constance. That night I couldn't stop thinking about my daughters, all 3 of them. Dorothy worried about me, Constance strange, thin, afraid. Violet glued to me all the time. What was happening to my family? 2:47, he got up. As always, went to my side, as always. Stood there, as always. But this time I didn't have fear of him. I had rage, such a great rage that I wanted to get up and scream, "What are you doing? Why are you destroying this family?" But I didn't scream. Stayed quiet, pretending to sleep, as always. When he went back to bed, I kept thinking a lot. I needed to find out what was happening. I needed to hear what he did while he stood there. Because something he did, something he thought, and I needed to know what. That's when I had the idea. I'd pretend I was sleeping, but I'd pretend right this time. I'd breathe deeply, slowly, like someone who's really sleeping. I'd stay completely still. I'd make him believe I was in deep sleep, and I'd be quiet, really quiet, to listen if he said something, if he made any sound, anything. I marked it in my head. Monday, August 12th, 1968. It would be on that day. I'd discover the truth on that day. I spent all Sunday nervous, couldn't go to church, said I was feeling unwell, stayed home thinking, planning. Herbert went out with the girls. I stayed alone. I went to the bedroom, looked at that bed, that old, creaky bed where I slept every day, where I woke up every day at 2:47 seeing that man looking at me. Tomorrow I'd know the truth. Didn't know if I wanted to know, but I had to. That Sunday night I ate dinner very early, took a bath, went to bed early too, around 8 o'clock, said I had a headache. Herbert stayed in the living room smoking. The girls went to sleep. I lay there, eyes open, looking at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the house, the creaking of the wood, the wind hitting the window, the crickets outside. Herbert came to bed around 9, lay on his side as always, stayed quiet. I kept my eyes open, waiting, my heart beating hard, my hands sweating. I couldn't mess up tomorrow, couldn't doze off, had to be awake, had to hear. I finally fell asleep. Must have been around 11 at night. A light sleep full of nightmares. Dreamed of strange things, of Herbert, of the girls, of the house catching fire. I woke up in the early morning, looked at the clock, 2:30. Still had 15 minutes. 15 minutes to discover the truth. 15 minutes until 2:47. 15 minutes to find out what that man was doing to me, to my peace, to my sanity. I was lying there, completely still, body tense, stiff as a board. I tried to relax, knew I couldn't be this tense, or he'd notice. Had to look like I was really sleeping. Deep sleep. I breathed deeply, slowly. Let the air out through my mouth, very slow. Let my arms go limp by my sides. Turned a bit to the side, in the position I always slept. Closed my eyes, relaxed my face, my shoulders, my legs. Stayed like that, breathing deeply, slowly, trying to look like a sleeping person. Herbert was on his side of the bed. I could hear his breathing. Sounded like he was sleeping, but I wasn't sure. Was he really sleeping, or was he awake, waiting like me? The minutes passed slowly, very slowly. Each second seemed like an hour. I wanted to look at the clock, but I couldn't. Had to keep pretending. The silence in the house was heavy. You could only hear the wind outside and his breathing, and my breathing that I tried to keep calm, deep, like a sleeping person. My heart was beating hard, so hard I was afraid he'd hear it. Thump, 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 beating in my chest like a drum. I tried to calm down, thought of peaceful things, the garden, the chickens pecking in the yard, the girls playing. But I couldn't calm down because I knew the time was coming. Suddenly I heard the bed creak. He was moving. I stayed still, eyes closed, deep breathing. I heard him get up. The mattress sank on his side when he leaned to get up. The bed creaked. He stood up. I waited, waiting for him to come to my side as always. And he came. I heard his footsteps, slow, very slow, on the wooden floor of the house. Taking slow, careful steps, like someone who doesn't want to make noise. He stopped on my side of the bed. I felt his presence there, very close. I kept breathing deeply, slowly, pretending deep sleep. He stood there, as he always did. I felt he was looking at me. Even with my eyes closed, I felt the weight of his gaze on me. My heart raced. Thump, 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 beating too fast. I tried to control it. Couldn't show I was awake. He stayed there. How long? I don't know. 1 minute, 2, 3, seemed like an eternity. Then he moved. I heard a sound, like he'd crouched down, gotten on his knees. My God! He was on his knees beside the bed. I stayed still, breathing, pretending. And then, my dear, he started to talk. His voice was so low, so weak, I could barely hear. A whisper, almost a breath. Please, Evelyn. My name. He said my name. Please, Evelyn, forgive me. What? Forgive what? He continued whispering, his voice choked, trembling. Forgive me for what I did. For what I promised. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have done it. My whole body went tense, but I kept pretending to sleep. I needed to hear more, needed to understand. I was desperate, Evelyn. I was scared. The debt was too big. I didn't have a way to pay. Debt? What debt? He cried. I heard his crying, quiet, suffocated, like someone crying but doesn't want anyone to hear. $3,000, $3,000. I didn't have it. I don't have it. And he was going to kill me, Evelyn. Mr. Blackwood was going to kill me. Blackwood. Richard Blackwood. The rich landowner. The widower. My blood went cold. So I promised. God forgive me. I promised our girl, our Constance. No. He had promised my daughter. My Constance, the 9-year-old girl. When she turns 15, she'll marry him. That's what I promised. To pay the debt, to save my life. I wanted to scream, wanted to get up, wanted to grab that man by the throat and squeeze until he stopped breathing. But I stayed still because I needed to hear everything. Everything. He kept crying, sobbing. It was January 16th in the early morning. I'd lost everything playing cards at Joe's place. Everything, Evelyn. All the money we'd saved, and I still owed $3,000 to Mr. Blackwood. He'd gambled our money. The money I'd saved sewing. The money we'd put away for hard times. He'd gambled it all. I came home that morning wanting to die, wanted to hang myself, wanted to disappear. But then he showed up at our house, Mr. Blackwood, the next day, and made the offer. What offer? What cursed offer? He said he'd forget the whole debt if I promised Constance's hand to him when she turned 15. He's 52, Evelyn. 52, and our girl is 9. I was shaking inside. Shaking with rage, with horror, with disgust. I said yes. God forgive me. I said yes because I was scared. Scared he'd kill me, scared of losing everything. I'm a coward, Evelyn. I'm a coward. That's why he came every night. 2:47, the time he'd made the promise, the time he'd sold our daughter. Since that day I don't sleep right. Every day I wake up at this time and come here. I come to ask your forgiveness because I know when you find out, you'll never forgive me. Never. He was right. I'd never forgive. But I don't have the courage to tell you. Don't have the courage to see your face when you find out. To see Constance's face when she finds out her father promised her to an old man. My Constance. My girl who was strange, thin, afraid. Did she know? Had someone told her? He kept crying, his voice getting lower, more broken. 6 years left. 6 years until she turns 15. And then I'll have to hand her over. I'll have to take my daughter to Mr. Blackwood. Like she's cattle. Like she's a thing. No. This wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to let it. Forgive me, Evelyn. Forgive me for being such a coward, so weak, so bad. He stayed there a while longer, crying softly, whispering words I couldn't quite understand, asking forgiveness, asking God, asking me. Then he got up. I heard him get up, heard his footsteps going back to his side of the bed, heard the bed creak when he lay down. I stayed there, still, eyes still closed, breathing still pretending sleep. But inside I was destroyed, shattered, like someone had ripped my heart from my chest and stomped on it. My daughter, my Constance, promised to an old man to pay a gambling debt. I waited until I was sure he'd fallen asleep. His breathing became heavy, deep. Only then did I open my eyes. The house was dark, everything black, but my eyes were already used to the dark. I looked at the ceiling, the old wooden ceiling of our house. Everything made sense now. Constance was acting strange because she knew. Someone had told her, or she'd overheard. Children hear everything. She knew her father had promised her in marriage. My girl, 9 years old, knowing that in 6 years she'd have to marry a 58-year-old man, an old man who could be her grandfather. I thought of all the times I'd seen her quiet, thin, afraid, and me thinking it was just a phase, kid stuff. How blind I was, how I didn't notice, because I was worried about Herbert, about him watching me at night. I was so focused on my fear that I didn't see my daughter's fear. I lay there the rest of the night, not sleeping, just thinking, planning. I wasn't going to let this happen, ever. Herbert could have promised whatever he wanted. Mr. Blackwood could think he had rights to my daughter. I wasn't going to allow it. I saw the day break through the crack in the window, the light coming in slowly, the rooster crowing outside, the chickens starting to cluck. I got up from bed carefully, without making noise. Herbert was still sleeping or pretending to sleep. Didn't matter. I went to the kitchen, lit the wood stove, put water on to boil for coffee, stood there looking at the fire, the flames dancing. My head wouldn't stop. Thinking. I needed to get the girls out of there. Needed to leave. But where? I had no money, had nothing. How would I support 3 daughters alone? I thought about going back to my mother's house, but my mother was old, sick, couldn't take care of me and 3 granddaughters. I thought of my sister, Helen. She lived in Louisville, had a bit better situation. Would she take me in? I made coffee, set the table, bread, butter, apple jelly I'd made. The girls woke up, came to the kitchen. Dorothy rubbing her eyes, Violet yawning. Constance. I looked at Constance, at her little face, at her eyes, and she looked at me. And in her eyes I saw it, saw that she knew I knew. How did she know? I don't know, but she knew. I hugged her, hugged my girl tight. Everything okay, Mom? Yes, honey. Everything's okay. But it wasn't. Nothing was okay. Herbert appeared, came into the kitchen, sat at the table, picked up bread, spread butter like it was a normal day. I looked at him, looked right in his eyes, and he looked away. Couldn't face me. He knew I knew. Somehow he knew. I let the girls have their breakfast, talked to them about normal things, about school, about the chickens, about what they'd play that day. Then I looked at Dorothy. Dorothy, you and the girls are going to spend the day at Aunt Helen's. Dorothy looked at me surprised. Today, Mom? Today. I'm taking you this morning. You'll stay a few days there. But Mom, why? Because I need to sort out some things here, adult things. You'll be there having fun with your cousins. I looked at Herbert. He was pale, white as paper. He knew what was going to happen. I packed a bag with the girls' clothes, some changes, toothbrush, comb, put everything in a sack, took all 3 by the hand. Let's go. But Mom, how are we going? It's far. We're going by wagon. I'll ask Mr. Thompson to take us. I went to Mr. Thompson's house. He was our nearest neighbor, had a wagon. I asked him to take me and the girls to Louisville. He looked at me kind of suspicious. It was far, would take all day to go and come back. But I insisted, said it was urgent, that I'd pay. He agreed. I settled the girls in the wagon, Dorothy, Constance, Violet, all 3 sitting there looking at me. Behave at your aunt's house, okay? Obey her. Be polite. Yes, Mom. I hugged each one, squeezed tight, smelled their hair, held that moment because I didn't know when I'd see them again. The wagon left. I saw it moving away, waving at me. I waved back until they disappeared around the bend in the road. I went back home, went in, closed the door. Herbert was sitting in the living room, looking at the floor. I looked at him, and he looked at me. And in that moment, without me saying anything, he knew I'd heard, knew I knew everything, knew nothing would ever be the same again. We stood there, me standing, him sitting, the heavy silence between us like a stone. I didn't say anything, didn't need to. He knew. I saw him start to shake. His hands shook, his shoulders shook, and then he started to cry. Really cry, out loud, without hiding. Evelyn, don't call me that. My voice came out hard, cold. I'd never spoken to him like that, to anyone. He lowered his head, kept crying. You heard? You heard what I said this morning? It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I heard every word you whispered while you thought I was sleeping. For 7 months you came to my side every night asking forgiveness, but you never had the courage to tell me when I was awake. I couldn't. Couldn't what, Herbert? Couldn't tell me you sold our daughter? That you promised Constance, a 9-year-old child, to a 52-year-old man? He sobbed, an ugly, desperate sound. I was desperate, Evelyn. The debt, I know about the debt. You gambled our money. The money I saved sewing, washing clothes, going hungry. You took it all and gambled it at cards. I went to the kitchen, got the knife I used to cut meat, came back to the living room. When he saw the knife in my hand, he went white, raised his hands. Evelyn, for God's sake, I'm not going to kill you, Herbert, though you deserve it. But I want you to sit right there and tell me everything from beginning to end. And if you lie one word, just one, I swear to God, I'll end you. I sat in the chair across from him, put the knife on the table, but kept my hand on it. Tell me. He breathed deeply, wiped tears with the back of his hand. It was in January, the 15th, a Tuesday night. Joe was having a card game at his place. I went. I'd been before. You were gambling? Small bets. I'd win sometimes, lose sometimes. I knew he gambled occasionally, but I thought it was small stuff, pocket change. That night there were people from out of town, rich men, landowners. The game was high stakes, big bets, and He stopped, breathed deeply again. I thought I'd win, thought I'd double our money, triple it, buy more land, more livestock, improve our life. You took all our money? I took the $300 we'd saved, everything. $300. 2 years of savings. 2 years I'd spent sewing late at night, after the girls slept, after he slept, sewing until my fingers bled, and he took it all in one night and lost it. I lost it all in the first few rounds, and then I got desperate. I borrowed money. Mr. Blackwood was there. He lent me $1,000. You borrowed $1,000? I did. Thought I'd win back what I'd lost, win it all back. But you didn't win. I didn't. I lost the 1,000 too. Then I borrowed more. Another 1,000. He lent it to me and I lost. I borrowed another 1,000. Lost it. By the end of the night, I owed Mr. Blackwood $3,000. $3,000. A fortune. Money we'd never have. He gave me a week. 1 week to come up with $3,000, or he'd take our land, our house, everything. You should have told me. I was going to tell you, I swear I was. But the next day, Saturday, he showed up here in the morning, early. You'd gone to wash clothes at the creek with the girls. He came on horseback. Mr. Blackwood came here? Came here, walked in, sat in this same chair you're in, lit a cigar, and said he had a proposition for me. What cursed proposition? He said he'd been a widower for 3 years, that he was looking for a young woman to marry, a young woman who could give him children, take care of his house, and that he'd noticed Constance. My stomach turned. That old man had noticed my daughter, a child. And then he made the offer, said if I'd promise Constance's hand to him when she turned 15, he'd forgive the whole debt. All $3,000. Everything forgiven. And you accepted. It wasn't like that, Evelyn. I said no. I said she was a child, that she was my daughter. But in the end, you accepted. He threatened me. Said if I didn't accept, it wasn't just the debt. Said he'd take care of me, that I'd disappear, that you and the girls would be left with nothing. No land, no house, no husband. So you preferred to sell our daughter. I didn't sell her. I just promised. It's the same thing. You promised her hand like she was property, like she was livestock, like you had the right to decide her life, I screamed. Screamed loud, all the rage that was stored up coming out at once. He lowered his head, kept crying. I know, I know I did wrong. That's why I don't sleep. That's why every day at 2:47 in the morning I wake up, because that was the time. 2:47 in the morning, from Friday to Saturday, when I said yes, when I promised Constance to him. How did it happen? Tell me exactly how it happened. He gave me paper and pen, told me to write. I, Herbert Franklin Parker, promised the hand of my daughter, Constance Parker, in marriage to Richard Blackwood when she turns 15 years old on August 8, 1974. 6 years from then. And you signed? I signed, and he signed as witness. Put away the paper, said he'd keep it until the day, said when 1974 came, he'd come get her. I got up from the chair, started walking around the living room, back and forth, trying to think, trying to control the rage. Constance knows? He looked at me with wide eyes. How would she know? She knows, Herbert. I saw it in her eyes. She's thin, scared, quiet. Someone told her. No, I didn't tell anyone. Only me and Mr. Blackwood know. Then he told. Or someone who was at Joe's that night told. Small town, everyone finds out about everything. Someone heard, someone talked, and it reached her ears. My God, my girl. His voice broke again. I stopped walking. Looked at him. You're going to take paper and pen right now and write a statement saying you cancel this promise that was made under threat, under coercion, and has no validity whatsoever. But he has the paper, Evelyn. He has my signature. Doesn't matter. You're going to write right now that you cancel it. And I'm going to take it to Mr. Blackwood and tell him to his face that my daughter is not merchandise. But he won't accept. He'll come here. I don't care what he'll do. My daughter won't marry that old man. I grabbed paper and pen, threw them in front of him. Write now. He took the pen with a trembling hand, started to write. I dictated, I, Herbert Franklin Parker, hereby cancel the promise made to Mr. Richard Blackwood regarding the marriage of my daughter Constance Parker. This promise was made under coercion and threat and therefore has no validity. I recognize that I made a grave error and that my daughter has the right to choose her own future. He wrote it, the letters all crooked, shaky, signed at the end. I took the paper, folded it, put it away. Now you're staying here. Don't leave this house. Don't go to the fields. Don't go anywhere. Stay here waiting for me to come back. Where are you going? I'm going to fix this the way it needs to be fixed. I got my shawl, put it over my shoulders, took the paper. Evelyn, don't go there. He's dangerous. So am I. I left the house, closed the door, started walking. Mr. Blackwood's farm was about 5 miles from there, 5 miles of dirt road. Would take over 2 hours walking, but I'd go. I'd walk if I had to. I walked about 15 minutes when I heard a horse behind me. I turned. It was Mr. Johnson going to town. Mrs. Parker, where are you going on foot in this hot sun? Going to Mr. Blackwood's farm. He looked at me surprised. But it's far, ma'am. Get up here, I'll take you. I got on the back of his horse. We went down the road. Mr. Blackwood's farm was big, tall wooden gate, white fence, a 2-story house. Had workers, had everything. Mr. Johnson left me at the gate. You sure, Mrs. Parker? I'm sure. I got off the horse, thanked him. He left. I opened the gate, went in, walked on the stone path to the house, climbed the steps to the porch, knocked on the door. A worker answered, an old man with white hair. I want to speak with Mr. Blackwood. Do you have an appointment, ma'am? I don't need an appointment. Tell him it's Evelyn, Herbert's wife. He looked me up and down. Must have thought it strange. A simple woman, thin, in old clothes, showing up at his boss's house. But he went to call him. I waited on the porch, heart beating hard, hands sweating. I heard heavy footsteps. Blackwood appeared. He was a big man, with a big belly, thick mustache, graying hair, wore expensive clothes, gold watch on his wrist. He looked at me surprised. Mrs. Parker, what an honor to have you here. Please come in. I'm not coming in. I came here to take care of business quickly. He smiled, a fake smile, full of teeth. I see. I imagine what it's about. Your husband sent you here to confirm the arrangements we made. I came to undo the arrangements you made. His smile disappeared. What? I took the paper from my pocket, showed it to him. My husband wrote this, canceling the promise. My daughter is not merchandise. She won't marry you. He took the paper, read it. His face turned red with rage. This doesn't mean anything. I have a signed document, legal, with a witness. That document was made under coercion and threat. It has no validity. It does, and it will be honored. In 1974, I'm coming to get the girl. No, you're not. Because if you come near my daughter, I'll end you myself. He laughed, a loud, mocking laugh. You? What are you going to do? You're just a woman, a poor woman with nothing. I took a step forward, looked right in his eyes. I'm a mother, and mothers protect their children, no matter what they have to do. He stopped laughing, saw I was serious. Your husband owes me $3,000 he lost gambling. His problem, not my daughter's. The deal was made. No deal. My daughter isn't part of any deal, and if you insist on this, I'll go everywhere. To the police, to the preacher, to the sheriff, to the prosecutor. I'll make the biggest scandal this town has ever seen. I'll tell everyone that you, a 52-year-old man, want to marry a 9-year-old girl. I'll spread it all over town, all over the county. Let's see if your reputation can take it. His face turned purple with rage. You have no proof of anything. I have my husband's word. I have the promise you made him right. And I have my daughter, who's been scared for months because someone told her. He took a step toward me, trying to intimidate me. I won't forget this debt. Your husband will pay one way or another. Then collect from him, not from my daughter. I turned my back, started down the steps. You're going to regret this, Mrs. Parker. No, I won't. You're the one who'll regret it if you come near my family. I left the farm, closed the gate behind me. My legs were shaking. My whole body was trembling. But I'd done it. I'd faced that man. I'd said no. I started walking back home, weak legs, hot sun beating down on my head. But I kept going, walked and walked until I couldn't anymore and sat on the side of the road under a tree. And I cried. Cried everything that was stored up. 7 months of fear, of desperation, of not understanding. Cried for Constance, for her stolen childhood, for the fear she went through. Cried for Herbert, for the coward he was, for the marriage that never was a marriage, for the life we had. Cried for me, for the tired, thin, scared woman I'd become. I stayed there a long time, until the tears dried, until I could breathe properly again. Then I got up, wiped my face, and started walking again. When I got home, it was almost night. Getting dark. Herbert was sitting in the same place I'd left him, looking at the wall. When he saw me come in, he got up. What did he say? Said he won't let it go, that you'll pay the debt one way or another, that he'll come after you. I don't know, doesn't matter. I went to the bedroom, grabbed an old bag, started putting my clothes in it, the girls' clothes. What are you doing? I'm leaving. Going to get the girls and going to Louisville. Going to live with my sister until I figure out a way to support myself alone. No, Evelyn, don't do this. You think I'm going to keep living here with you, after what you did? I'll find a way to pay the debt. I swear, I don't care about the debt. I care about protecting my daughters, and with you around, they're not protected. I finished packing the bag, got the money I'd hidden under the mattress, about $20 I'd saved without him knowing. It was little, but it was what I had. You can't leave. You're my wife. Not anymore. I left the bedroom, took the bag, headed for the door. He followed me. Evelyn, please, forgive me, give me a chance. I turned to him. You had 7 months of chances. 7 months to tell me the truth, to do the right thing. And you didn't. I opened the door. I'm getting my daughters and never coming back. And I left. I left that house on that Monday night, August 12th, 1968, with a bag of clothes on my back and $20 in my pocket. That was all I had in the world, that and my 3 daughters. I walked down the dark road to Mr. Thompson's house again, knocked on the door. He answered in pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "Mr. Thompson, I need to go get my daughters in Louisville." "Now?" He looked at me, saw the bag on my back, saw my face, and didn't ask anything. "I'll get the wagon ready." We traveled all night, the dark road, only the moon lighting it. Me sitting in the wagon, holding my bag, looking forward, not looking back. We arrived in Louisville when the sun was rising. Tuesday, August 13th. My sister Helen was surprised when she saw me at her door at that hour. "Evelyn, what happened?" "I need to stay here a few days, me and the girls." She looked at Mr. Thompson, at the wagon, at the bag on my back, and understood. "Come in. The girls are still sleeping." I went in. Helen's house was small but tidy, 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen. She lived with her husband Arnold and their 2 children, John and Mary, who were about the same age as my girls. I sat in the kitchen. Helen made coffee, gave me bread with butter. "Tell me." And I told her everything from the beginning, 2:47 in the morning, the 7 months, the night I pretended to be asleep, what Herbert had done, the promise, Mr. Blackwood, everything. My sister went white, then red with rage. That bastard, that son of a bitch. I finished telling, drank the coffee, breathed deeply. "I'm not going back, Helen. Not going back to him. I'll stay here until I figure out a way to support myself with the girls." She held my hand. "You can stay as long as you need." The girls woke up, came to the kitchen. When they saw me, Constance ran and hugged me, hugged so tight she almost knocked me over. "Mom!" Just that. Just Mom. But the way she said it, I knew she understood, knew she knew I'd gone there to protect her. Dorothy and Violet hugged me too, all 3 glued to me. I hugged my girls and cried. Cried with relief, with tiredness, with fear, with everything. We stayed at Helen's house. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. I slept in the living room on a mattress on the floor. The girls slept with their cousins in the bedroom. It was cramped, but it was safe. I started looking for work, went house to house offering sewing services, laundry, cleaning, anything. I needed money so I wouldn't be a burden on my sister. I got some work. Sewed for a rich lady downtown, washed clothes for another, cleaned a big house twice a week, made a little money, not much, but it was something. The girls enrolled in the public school there. Dorothy helped around the house, took care of her younger sisters. Constance was better. As the days went by, she started smiling again, playing, being a child again. One day she asked me, "Mom, aren't we going back home?" "No, honey, that's not our home anymore." "And Dad?" "Your father did wrong things, things that hurt us. Mom can't stay with him." She was quiet for a while, then said, "I heard some women talking at the store, saying Mr. Blackwood was going to marry me when I grew up. Is it true?" I looked in my daughter's eyes, in her scared eyes. "It was true once, but it's not anymore. Your mother didn't let it happen. Nobody's going to decide your life, Constance. Only you. When you grow up, you choose who you want to marry, or if you want to marry, you decide." She hugged me. "Thank you, Mom." I stayed 6 months at Helen's house, 6 months working, saving money. In February 1969, I managed to rent a small house, 2 rooms, old, but it was ours. I took the girls there. We started a new life, our life, without a man, without fear, without having to wake up at 2:47 in the morning with someone watching. It was hard, very hard. There were days we ate only bread with coffee. There were days I worked 15 hours straight to pay the rent. There were days I cried hidden in the bathroom so my daughters wouldn't see. But we survived. We fought. We won. Herbert tried to find me a few times, sent messages through people we knew, asked me to come back, said he'd changed. I never responded, never listened. In 1970, the news came. Mr. Blackwood had sued me, said I'd defamed him, that I'd spread lies about him around town. Wanted compensation. I went to a lawyer, a poor people's lawyer who worked for free, told him everything, showed him the paper Herbert had written. He said he'd defend me. The case lasted 2 years. 2 years of hearings, testimonies, going back and forth to the courthouse. But in the end, I won. The judge said the promise had no validity, that it was immoral, that no father could promise an underage daughter in marriage. When the verdict came out, November 23, 1972, I cried. Cried with happiness. Constance was with me. She was 13 years old. She hugged me and said, "It's over, Mom, it's over." And it was over. Mr. Blackwood never came near us again, never tried anything. The girls grew up. Dorothy finished her studies, got a job at a store, helped with household expenses. Constance also studied, became a teacher. Violet took a nursing course. All three married when they wanted, who they wanted, for love. Constance married at 23 in 1977 to a good young man, hard-working, who truly loved her. I wanted to cry at her wedding, with happiness, seeing my daughter choosing her own destiny. Herbert, I heard he stayed on the farm alone, working the land. He tried to get close to the daughters when they became adults. Dorothy wanted to give him a chance, visited him a few times. But Constance never wanted to see him, never forgave him. And I understood. Everyone deals with pain in their own way. He died in 1982, alone, in the old house where we'd lived. They said it was his liver from drinking so much. Drinking to forget, I imagine. But there are things no liquor can make you forget. I went to the funeral. Don't know why. Maybe to make sure it was really over. I saw his coffin be buried. I felt pity for the weak, cowardly man he'd been. But I didn't forgive. Some things you don't forgive. You just move forward. Today I'm 91 years old. 3 strong, living daughters. 7 grandchildren. 11 great-grandchildren. A big, beautiful family, full of love. Constance is 65 years old. She's a grandmother. She's happy. She married for love, had children, has a beautiful life. She healed. It wasn't easy. There were years of nightmares, years of therapy with a good psychologist, years of talking, crying, rebuilding. But she won. And you know what makes me most proud? Seeing that my daughters raised my granddaughters, knowing they can choose, that they can say no, that they can be in charge of their own lives. To this day, my dear, every night at 2:47 I wake up. It's automatic, can't help it. The body learned. 23 years have passed since I left that house, but my body hasn't forgotten. I wake up at 2:47, but I don't wake up with fear anymore. Don't wake up seeing him standing beside the bed anymore. I wake up and look at the empty side, at the empty space in the bed where no one's ever slept again, because I never remarried, never wanted to. I give thanks. I thank God for giving me courage that night of August 12th, 1968. Courage to pretend I was sleeping and listen. Courage to confront. Courage to leave. Courage to start over. Because if I hadn't had courage, my Constance would have been handed over to that old man at 15, still a child, and her life would have been destroyed. I saved my daughter. I saved all 3 of my daughters, and I saved myself too. People ask me if I regret marrying Herbert. No. Because from that marriage came my 3 girls, and they're the most precious thing I have in life. They ask me if I forgave him. I don't know. I think forgiveness is too big a thing for some situations. I left it behind. I moved forward. That's what matters. They ask me what I'd say to other women going through similar situations, and I say, wake up. Don't pretend you're sleeping through life. Don't accept the unacceptable. Don't stay quiet when you should scream. I know in 1968 it was difficult. A separated woman was looked down on. A woman alone with children was judged. But even so, it was worth it. Worth every day of hunger, of hard work, of struggle, because my daughters grew up free. And for you watching me now in 2025, living in a different time, with more rights, with more protection. Use that. Don't let anyone decide for you. Don't let anyone sell your daughters, your sisters, your granddaughters. Don't stay silent. I was a simple woman, without education, poor. But I had courage. And if I had it, you do too. 2:47 in the morning doesn't haunt me anymore. It's my reminder, my internal alarm that reminds me every day that I was strong, that I fought, that I won. It's the time my husband promised my daughter to another man, but it's also the time my liberation began. Because it was at that time I decided to listen, decided to act, decided to change. Today, when I wake up at 2:47, I pray. I pray for my daughters, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I pray for all the girls in the world who are in danger, for all the women who are in difficult situations. I pray that they have courage, just like I did. And I give thanks. I give thanks for being here, for being alive, for having survived, for having won. My story isn't just about pain. It's about strength, about starting over, about victory. And if you watching are going through something bad, if you have a secret you're keeping, if you're afraid of someone in your own home, speak up, look for help, leave, fight. Because life is too precious to be lived in fear, to be lived pretending you're sleeping. Wake up, get up, and fight for your life, for the people you love. I did it 57 years ago when I was 34, without money, without education, without support. And I succeeded. You can succeed too. 2:47 in the morning is my daily reminder. I survived. I won. And you will win too. Don't be afraid of the dark. Don't be afraid of silence. Because it's in the dark and in silence that we hear the truths. And it's by hearing the truths that we can change. My life wasn't easy, but it was mine. It was my daughter's. It was ours. And that, my dear, is priceless. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for watching my story to the end. I hope it touched your heart. I hope it gave you strength, courage, hope. If you enjoyed my story, please leave a like, subscribe to Grandparents' Tales to hear more stories of strong women like us, and share it with your friends, your sisters, your daughters. Because the story of strong women needs to be spread, needs to be told, needs to be heard. Leave in the comments where you're watching from. Tell me if my story helped you in some way. I read all the comments, or rather, my grandson reads them to me, and I'm so happy to know I'm not alone, that other women also fought, also won. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. May God bless each one of you. May you have strength, courage, and faith to face whatever you have to face. And remember, don't pretend you're sleeping. Wake up, see, act, because life is ours, and nobody has the right to decide for us.